Welcome to the Digital Dreaming Off the Ground podcast. I'm your host, Asif Ali. Today's episode will be about where is this man going to end up next year? All the trade, all the noise. Obviously, this is the hottest topic in the NBA right now. KD, Kyrie, KD. Are they going? Are they staying? What's Joe Tsai thinking? A lot of different kind of scenarios that can play out. So I was watching First Things First today. The emerging storylines like Goran Dragic basically stated that the Nets were focused on individuals, not teams. Shannon Sharp was ripping and Skip for not criticizing number 35 on being the leader of that team and not really owning that leadership role. Whereas, Skip would basically kind of cherry pick who he likes to criticize, such as LeBron James and Rodgers, when they can't get the job done, or when they couldn't get the job done, right? So essentially, it's a really kind of interesting scenario because, yesterday DeAndre Ayton was basically he signed with the Indiana Pacers. I think it was 4 years, $133 million. And the sources on ESPN were basically stating that this means the Suns are out of the KD sweepstakes. And now the Suns had to match the offer to keep him, even though DeAndre was kind of piss poor in the playoffs when they needed him. So ultimately, with that said, it really kind of tightens up, where KD can go the offseason. I think Brooklyn is looking for similar deals to what Rudy Gobert got, I think around 5 first-round picks. But just because Rudy Gobert got 5 first-round picks doesn't mean KD is still worth, that much. KD's worth, top market dollar. But I think ultimately it's going to be a situation where Joe Tsai is going to have to weigh out, what he can get for the future of his team and what KD can get, and obviously what a marquee kind of free agent like a KD, or not a free agent, but what a marquee player like free KD can command, with his salary, with all the expectations. I think one of the interesting things to know is that Kyrie, who supports, obviously, my ancestral homeland, Kyrie. It's interesting that, it's kind of the scenarios that they've devised for Kyrie. I think essentially they're saying that, potentially Brooklyn, not necessarily Brooklyn, potentially he wants to stay in Brooklyn, but they're saying that, they considered potentially trading him for Kyle Lowry. But I think the most logical scenario right now would be Kyrie one straight up. Honestly, if KD gets moved, then straight up Kyrie for Russell Westbrook, because that gives your team a box office marquee attraction. And it gives the fans something to be excited about. You can sell Russell Westbrook to that fan base. We remember what Russell Westbrook did after this guy left in 2016. In 2017, MVP. They had historical numbers. Led that team, OKC Thunder, into the playoffs. And I think ultimately these are things that will definitely help. Kind of keep the team relevant to that fan base. I think one thing I know is that, KD, obviously he's kind of gone dark this whole kind of scenario situation. Obviously his brother was replying to Skip Bayless the other day. But I think KD, obviously Miami, if KD goes to Miami, then essentially, the leadership over there, such as Pat Riley, Eric Spoelstra, Jimmy Butler, right? And if Kyle is still there, Kyle Lowry, I think KD would definitely be able to kind of just operate under, a less pressure scenario in terms of being the leader, because you got Jimmy, you got other guys who can really kind of own that leadership role, and KD can just focus on doing what he does best, which is playing good basketball and being a big-time basketball player. So, I think that's been kind of been the narrative that's been surrounding KD, being that leader or not wanting to own that leadership role, but being able to go somewhere where, someone else can kind of own that role for him, So, these are things that, that go into this type of, KD trade scenario. My take, ultimately, I think Joe Tsai is obviously, Joe Tsai is a businessman, right? You're talking about, Alibaba.com, one of the most successful e-commerce websites, out there. I think KD will definitely benefit from being in a scenario where there is additional leadership. But I think it's a situation where I don't think it's going to be Warriors-esque, where Bob Myers, Joe Lacob, did they put their arms around him? They said, yeah, we'll help you out. We'll let you walk when you need to. I think Joe Tsai is going to try to get the best value for his team, wherever that is, because KD wasn't able to fulfill, much. The 2 years he had there, he wasn't able to deliver the championship, right? And so I think it's a bottom line league, and obviously it's something else. I mean, this is actually for me, my old bro went to the NBA Finals 2017, his first year in Golden State, game 2, and here's the ticket for that. I mean, he just dominated that game. KD can definitely operate in a scenario where he has other stars around him to complement him, and essentially just be not necessarily focused on leadership, being the captain, having all the pressure on it. He can, or having the spotlight. He can definitely thrive in big moments, make plays in big moments, and be that best player. But I think ultimately he has to be in a scenario where when things go south, someone else can basically step up and lock and kind of own that role. Because I think in Brooklyn, we saw Steve Nash was willing to do it. Kyrie wasn't able to do it. KD wasn't able to do it. So it's interesting. We'll see how the KD drama plays out. I think KD goes to Miami. It'll be a great situation for him and the Heat organization. I don't know what they can give for him, but just because the issue with Duncan Robinson is $17-18 million on the books, I don't know if Brooklyn will buy into that. I don't think that's a pretty tough sell. Duncan Robinson was basically unplayable the last couple of years. So, ultimately, this is just my take on the KD situation. KD's obviously a phenomenal player. I hope that he does end up somewhere where they value him and he's able to capitalize. And as a fan, right, I really hope that KD is able to go somewhere where he can, kind of rewrite history and kind of correct his legacy a bit. So we'll see what happens there. Ultimately, it's with LeBron. When LeBron got, when LeBron had the heat on him, for Miami, he ended up going back home to Cleveland and, fulfilling his promise against the Warriors before KD went over there and, ended up winning 2 championships, with the Warriors. But I think ultimately KD, if he were to go to OKC, I mean, and the thing is, OKC has a draft capital to trade for KD. You're talking about 5 first-round picks, but essentially the problem with that is that they're going to Brooklyn is going to probably want some more key pieces rather. They're going to want probably Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. They're going to want. They're probably also going to want. What's his name? The new kid, Chet Holmgren. Yeah, the new draft pick, second overall pick this year's draft. Chet Holmgren. They're probably going to want some future tackles from that end. So, and I don't think OKC is willing to sack part ways, and I don't think KD wants to go back to OKC. I mean, after everything between the organization and him, there's a lot of kind of bad blood. I don't see. He's not from Oklahoma. He doesn't really. I mean, that fan base is one of the best fan bases in the NBA. But I mean, I really don't see why KD would want to go there. So, but anyways, that's my take on KD. And I think one more thing to know is that since DeAndre Ayton wasn't able to get the max with the Pacers, this opens up the door. This opens up the door for the Lakers to make a move for Buddy Hield, who they should have gotten last offseason. The real question mark is what are they going to do about Russell Westbrook, and hopefully the Kyrie situation plays out favorably for the Lakers as a Lakers fan. So, but anyways, that's my take on the KD situation. What do you guys think? Thanks for tuning in. God bless.